This deck is a nightmare for most standard format decks to deal with. Roll the intro. What is going on, everybody? Hitmonchanning here, back again with another Pokemon trading card game deck tech. Today I decided to cover the brand new Miltank from Astral Radiance. With its Miracle Body ability, this Pokemon cannot be damaged by attacks from your opponent's Pokemon V. That ability is really cool considering most popular decks in the standard format feature Pokemon V. Most of them have it as the main attacker, and Miltank just kind of stops most of them from functioning. Now, a lot of people are pairing Miltank with Blissey, which seems like a natural partner, you know, both colorless type. Blissey's also very tanky and can do a lot of damage pretty quickly, but I decided to go a different route. I thought, why not pair Miltank with a Pokemon that has the exact same ability? Decidueye's Deep Forest Camo ability allows you to prevent all damage into this Pokemon by attacks your opponent's Pokemon V and GX. Plus, it has the Splitting Arrow attack. For a grass energy and a colorless energy, you can do 90 damage to the active and 20 to 2 of your opponent's benched Pokemon. Now, this does not seem like a lot of damage, but when you consider your opponent will not be able to hit you for a lot of turns, they would have to build up a one prize attacker or find a card to get around your abilities, such as a Phoebe or something like that. There's a lot of damage that you can do, which will rack up in a very quick amount of time. Now, Miltank's attack route is also a very solid attack on a basic Pokemon. For only 2 colorless energy, you can do 10 damage plus 20 more for each of your opponent's benched Pokemon. That is 110 damage if your opponent has a full bench, and 140 damage if you attach a Choice Belt to this Miltank. That's basically enough to KO most Pokemon VSTAR. Now, there's a couple of other cards that make this deck function, but one other one that makes it very unique. That is the addition of Hisuian Decidueye from Astral Radiance. This card is extremely cool because it can evolve from your Rowlets and your Dartrix, so you can kind of set up a play where your opponent doesn't know what you're going to do next. It has the Piercing Claw attack that is free and does 30 damage times each damage counter on your opponent's active Pokemon. Now, I want you to think about it like this. If you set up a Pokemon with Splitting Arrow, let's say you do 90 damage to the active, 20 to 2 of their benched, and they retreat it because they don't want their active Pokemon to be sitting just taking damage. If you're able to boss that up, you can use Piercing Claw to do a buttload of damage and absolutely destroy that Pokemon for 0 energy. Plus, if you have something that your opponent is keeping on the bench trying to not get hit, for a fighting energy and 2 colorless, Hisuian Decidueye's direct arrow attack does 80 damage to one of your opponent's Pokemon. Now, you can just snipe something on the bench that you either set up with Miltank, or you set up with Decidueye, or even set up with Rowlet. Because Rowlet's Sky Circus ability allows it to attack for free if we use the Bird Keeper this turn. And its attack does 60 damage to one of your opponent's benched Pokemon. That can KO something like a Sobble, or a Houndour, or anything that a lot of decks use to get their setup going, like the Inteleon engine, or the Houndoom engine, or even Remoraid and Rapid Strike decks. Lucky for us, we played 2 copies of Bird Keeper in this deck to switch our Pokemon and also draw and have access to the Sky Circus ability. Now, there's a couple other cards that I mentioned that we need to go over in this deck, and I will go over them now really quickly. We have 4 copies of Rare Candy. In any Stage 2 deck, you kind of need these. And to search out our Rare Candy, I decided to include 1 copy of Skyla. Since we're not playing the Inteleon engine in here, there's not a lot of room. We need a way to reliably search out Rare Candy, just plain and simple. Lucky for us, if our Pokemon gets knocked out, we also have access to Raihan, which can attach an energy, as well as search for any card in the deck to build up our next attacker. Couple that with a Cape of Toughness for our Miltank and a Choice Belt for our Decidueyes, we can make our Pokemon pretty tanky or to do a little bit more damage depending on what we're playing against. I also run 2 copies of Crushing Hammer in here just so we can slow down our opponent a little bit more as we are getting set up. Now, I play 1 Energy Search in here, and you're probably thinking, why do I play an Energy Search? Why not just play another Energy? And I'd agree with you, but we're actually running 3 different types of energy in this deck. We have 4 Grass Energy to power up our normal Decidueye, 1 Fighting Energy to power up our Hisuian Decidueye if we ever need it, as well as 3 Twin Energy and 2 Capture Energy, which powers up our Miltank in one shot while also being able to power up our Hisuian Decidueye and 2 attachments, and our capture energy is just very good to get out and help us get our setup going a little bit quicker. Now, I also play 2 Path to the Peak to slow down V-decks even more, and other than that, the deck is pretty standard. 2 Marnie, 2 Boss, 4 Professor's Research, as well as 4 Level Ball, 4 Quick Ball, 2 Evo Incense, and 2 Ultra Ball. We also run 1 Turffield Stadium just in case we need to reliably get Grass Evolution Pokemon if we run out of Pokemon Search or our opponent kind of Marnies us into a dead hand. But now that I've gone through all the cards, I'm going to hop into some games and get, hopefully, some really cool matchups where I can showcase the true power of this deck. Calling the coin flip once again, I'm going to say Tails never fails. Well, this time it did, but you know what? That's nothing to go off of, you know? Like, why would Tails ever fails, even if it did? Now, we have a pretty okay start. I can't really complain. Because of the Cape of Toughness, we can protect ourselves a little bit more from basic Pokemon. Or single price Pokemon, I should say. Opponent is starting a Sobble. If we could draw into a Bird Keeper here, that would be absolutely fantastic. If they were to bench another Sobble, of course, considering Rowlet's attack can only damage the bench. But they don't. And we don't draw into one anyway, so we're going to go for the Cape of Toughness. And we will Quick Ball away the Fighting Energy to grab a Rowlet. We'll Quick Ball away the Evo Incense to grab another Rowlet. Now hopefully we can get a Twin Energy here to start putting some damage on, but we're going to go for a Research. Draw a clean 7 cards. We do get the Twin Energy, and we get the Rare Candy Decidueye for next turn. Another Rowlet on the bench is pretty good, but the Twin Energy here, going for a route for, hey, 10 damage ain't bad. Now, another option I could have done was attach to one of my benched Rowlets and have a attacking Decidueye by next turn, which you could argue is the right play. However, I don't want to set up a Rowlet for them to immediately KO and then be energy completely off the board. Now, my opponent has discarded a lot of dark energy here, and it looks like they're playing some type of dark, maybe poison deck, I'm noticing because of the Kurogunk, but we'll have to see what they do here. Opponent's got a Sobble. I think they're just going to go for a Keep Calling. They are going to Quick Ball here, so we're going to get to probably see their main attacker or their main Pokemon, and it is going to be a Coughing, which does limit our abilities. If they have an energy attachment, they can retreat and Ascension to essentially get rid of our Miracle Body, Sky Circus, and our Decidueye's ability of Deep Forest Camo. But that's okay, because we can actually set up damage, and we can use our Hisuian Decidueye to take a massive KO when we need to. Now, opponent's going to go for the Shady Dealings here, maybe grabbing a Scoop Up Net or just a Draw Supporter for their to set up their next turn or something like that. But we'll have to look and see what they get off their Drizzle. They are getting a Professor's Research for some draw, so let's see what they do here. The Gape Job Bog on the field too is actually pretty good for us, but they're not going to retreat or do anything with this hand, which I think is a huge mistake. Because we can just Evo Incense and grab a Hisuian Decidueye here. Rare Canning right into it. We have access to its free attack for any Pokemon that has damage counters on it. Now, I think here the play is actually to Ultra Ball away these 2 cards and grab ourselves a Dartrix. We'll grab that Dartrix and we'll attach this Capture Energy here. We're not going to use it for anything, but then we're going to go for a route, doing a solid enough 50 damage. And we can use Hisuian Decidueye if they bench anything, putting 2 damage counters on it. Oh, but my opponent is going to get an Inteleon with Shady Dealings here. If they can find a Water Energy, they can do 120 damage to our Miltank, but that is not enough unless they play a Tool Scrapper. Which, in this type of deck, I think is very possible because, hey, Tool Scrap away the Cape, one-shot my Miltank. However, with our Hisuian Decidueye, I think we'll actually be able to take a knockout, doing 30 times 60 damage counters, which is actually going to be 180, which will take out this Inteleon for basically 0 energy. The best part about having this Decidueye in here is that the attack is free. It's not like an ability that does this, so you can't get ability locked by this type of Weezing deck. But my opponent is going to go for the Weezing here and get that up and running, which is okay for me. They're just going to switch right into it. I think it would have been better if they went into the Shady Dealings Inteleon attack if they even have water energy in their deck. Going for the Hisuian Heavy Ball here, we'll see if my opponent has missed anything important in their prizing. They get a Hisuian Samurott, so this deck's true colors are showing themselves, which is good for us, as long as we can take out this Galarian Weezing, which should be very easy to do. I think we're going to be in a very good spot. The not so good spot is that we are in a top deck mode, but anything will be helpful to us here. An Evo Incense or an Energy Search or anything really is going to be helpful. Now, my opponent is going to get damaged by their own Gape-Jaw Bog here, which, hey, is good for us. Same thing with the Samurott. My opponent is going to Severe Poison us, which is going to take them quite a few turns, I'll say. But we get a Quick Ball, which is okay. We can just go for a Route here, doing a solid enough 90 damage. Now, it's going to take 4 total turns in order for this Miltank to get knocked out, which is fine with me considering we can take out this Weezing. My opponent does have the Samurott coming out though. In order to attack with it, they need to retreat their Weezing. However, a potential play they can do is the Mooncutting Star onto the Miltank, which will get knocked out by Poison next turn, which, hey, you know what? Not great for us, I must say. My opponent is going to Marnie us though, thankfully. I think we would have been in a really bad spot if not for that, but considering we have a lot more options now with our Decidueye and our Samurott is weak to grass, we can do a whole lot here. Considering we also have a Professor's Research in our hand. The powering up that Moltres, getting ready to attack with it, because that's going to be their Pokemon that is going to be able to deal with our Decidueyes. Now, in my mind, I think it is just kind of better to bring up the Rowlet and sacrifice it so we can get a double Decidueye train going, unless we are somehow able to draw into a Raihan right here. We are not. Hey, but that's okay. I'm going to go for the Turffield Stadium here, just so we can potentially get another Decidueye up, and just a straight Professor's Research is just going to be our best bet here. You can do get a Crushing Hammer, which I do like to see. We're going to get the heads on it. I think the best play is on the Samurott, getting rid of that Hiding Dark energy. Now, I'm debating whether or not to bench the Miltank, because I don't know how much it'll actually be helpful. But we're going to Quick Ball away one path, just to thin out the deck a little bit more. Now, I think at this point, it's best just to go for the Capture Energy, fail it. Just take a look. We don't have any more Decidueye in the deck, which isn't great, so we're just going to have to rely on what we have. Bench another Miltank just in case, and then we're going to hit done. That means we do have one of our Decidueye's prize, which isn't great for us, but we're just an energy attachment away from beginning to attach with it. The Gape-Jaw Bog coming back down once again. That's, like I said, good for us. If we could find a Bird Keeper here, well, that could be okay. Just get our Rowlet boys out of the active. However, even if we can get into a Marnie, and Marnie into a Rare Candy plus a Hisuian Decidueye, we can take out this Galarian Weezing. We're going to have to, because we need to get this Rowlet evolved so it can not... Oh, never mind. This Rowlet is going to die to Poison, which is okay for us, because we need to get it out of the active. Now the dilemma here is going to be, do we bring out the Decidueye or the Hisuian Decidueye? I think the Decidueye is a safer bet, because we can set up my opponent's bench. We do get a Bird Keeper, but that's too little too late. I think I'm going to go ahead and play the Path to the Peak to just limit my opponent from using anything such as a Crobat. Now we're going to go ahead and Marnie. We just need to hit a Grass Energy here, and we have essentially secured the game. No Grass Energy, but we would have been able to potentially evolve our Rowlet, which does suck. So here, the Twin Energy is the only attachment we can do, and we just have to wait. If this Decidueye gets poisoned, we're not going to be in for a good time, I'll tell you that much. Now, I probably should have retreated the Rowlet with the Twin Energy and attacked with the Hisuian Decidueye and got rid of that Weezing, which is proving to be quite a problem in and of itself. But we'll just have to wait and see what my opponent decides to do, probably continuing to Weezing stall. I mean, it seems like the logical option here. However, we can retreat it and go into our Hisuian Decidueye, which will get knocked out in return. And the Inteleon getting scooped up too doesn't really matter in our case, but they're going to bench that Sobble back down. Can set it up for a potential snipe with the Hisuian Decidueye if it sticks around long enough. We can also snipe that Krogunk or the Galarian Zigzagoon. So that's why you can see the Hisuian Decidueye's direct arrow attack isn't at all a lost cause. We only have we have our one fighting and a grass energy in the discard pile, but we're gonna have to wait and see what we can do with our coming hand. We do get a grass energy, so the option does seem pretty clear. And we're gonna go ahead and just Professor's Research. We have our board set up. We have everything we need here. And it looks like we're just gonna have to go for a splitting arrow. We can do 20 damage to the Samurott because 90 times 90 is 180. That'll put them at 220. So it doesn't really matter, actually. We should probably go for the Moltres to actually help set up that KO. And even, no, the Samurott is the right play because we can just come in with a Hisuian Decidueye and do a nice chunk of damage to it. Now my opponent has to pick what to go into here. They're going to be able to go into that Galarian Zigzagoon, which is going to be interesting. They must have a scoop up in hand in order to retreat it, but they are going to go ahead and play the Croagunk, or the Toxicroak down, which makes their play a lot more scary, considering they can take out our Decidueye and just, we're forced to bring something up into the active as long as we pass the turn. Lucky for us, we have a boss's orders in our hand, so we are potentially able to bring up something like the Moltres and knock it out, or bring up something that's a little bit more threatening. I think the Moltres is the right play here, considering that we're going to be behind in prizes for a little bit, and we don't have a way to really recover any of these Pokemon. It might be time to bring out another Rowlet and maybe use it as a Bird Keeper snipe to take out something like the Zigzagoon down the line. Once again, we have to wait and see what my opponent decides to Shady Dealings for. They are going to get a Marnie. We do have a big hand, so that does not surprise me too much, but we'll see what they do. We have a Rowlet in the discard and 2 Rowlets on the board, so maybe our other one is prized. Probably should have checked that, but they are going to go ahead and Ultra Ball away some cards in their hand. What they are going to Ultra Ball away, though, I am a little bit interested in. It looks like it was 2 pieces of their Sobble engine. They're getting another Coughing down, which is not something I like to see. And they're going to go for a Marnie, getting rid of our boss. If we get Marnied into another boss, that would be really good, because that Coughing is going to be trouble. We do get the other boss, but there's not a whole lot we can do about it, considering this Coughing has 0 damage counters on it. And now they just have to sit in the active while our Decidueye just dies. That does suck, I must say. But however, I think the only play we have here is to go into Hisuian Decidueye. We're going to go ahead and level ball. We got nothing in there. We got one more Miltank, but not enough energy to power it up, except for the Rhyhorn here. Now, what I can do is I can boss up that Moltres and KO it with Piercing Claw, which I think is going to be the proper play, because we can't take out that Samurott, right? We're only going to be doing 120 damage, which will leave them just kind of in the active. But we need to take out this Moltres really quickly, so that's what we're going to do, and we're going to actually hope to maybe get a Rhyhorn play next turn, depending on what we get here. We do get our last Rowlet, so that is actually exactly what we needed. We can just put the Rowlet down and Rhyhorn to it, so we can find a rare candy for the next Hisuian Decidueye to come out and use his Piercing Claw attack. My opponent is likely going to bring up their Coughing here, but they might not have a way to play the Wheezing. There's probably only a 2/2 line, so they must have it in hand, or they're going to have to sacrifice a turn to Ascension. They're playing a Hisuian Heavy Ball, which isn't really going to do much for them. Taking a peek at their prizes, they already know what should be in there. Putting down another Coughing, which means they have at least a 3/2 line here. They do have the Wheezing in hand, which isn't good for us, but we'll have to wait and see what we can do here. My opponent getting another Wheezing is going to be very troubling for us and very annoying. The neutralizing gas ability just stops our kind of strategy from working here. And we're going to have to get this guy out of the active. We do draw into our last boss's orders, though, which is actually super helpful because we can take out that Zigzagoon. So I think that's what we're going to do. I'm going to bench the Rowlet, and we're going to go ahead and take the knockout on the Zigzagoon with Piercing Claw. Doing just 60 damage, but that's all we need. We can take another prize, which is a Grass Energy, super good for us. like I said, we can go ahead and actually Raihan to this Rowlet, even though we have our twin energy in the discard. My opponent is going to be able to Merciless Blade this Hisuian Decidueye and take a clean knockout on it, but that is where our Miltank comes in. Our Miltank can come in and hopefully stall out enough for this Hisuian Samurott to be within range of a Piercing Claw one-shot. But we'll have to see. My opponent, we're not going to be able to one-shot Galarian Weezing, but to two-shot them, that's possible. Now, I am just a little interested to see if my opponent decides to just let this sit here. But, I mean, attacking it doesn't really matter. We know this Hisuian Decidueye is going to get knocked out anyway. The quick shooting, too, that could be an issue for us down the line with their poison math. The way they set up their board here is going to make it a bit challenging for us to maneuver around their Pokemon. They are going to quick shooting the Rowlet on the bench. Little did they know, after we get knocked out here by Merciless Blade, because it's damage, we can use Raihan. Alright, that doesn't matter. We're going to go ahead and bring up the Miltank and go for the Raihan here, attaching a fighting energy from the discard to our Rowlet. And we can grab the rare candy. Just take a look what else we have. Nothing else is needed at the moment. Grab the rare candy and rare candy into Hisuian Decidueye, while also attaching an energy to it. Now we need to actually hit a heads here, and we do, and get rid of this hiding dark energy, which limits my opponent's ability to retreat. Now we can go for the route doing 90 damage and actually taking out the Hisuian Samurott next turn with our Decidueye. Now you might be thinking, which is a little bit strange, how are we going to get this Miltank back and keep it for attacking? We can actually Skyla for our Air Balloon and put the Air Balloon on our Pokemon and retreat it back for free, essentially bring this Decidueye up and hitting it pretty hard. That's going to have to be the play here, because I feel like my opponent might attach and then retreat into a Weezing, poisoning our Miltank, doing 60 damage per turn, which will actually kill it in 2 turns. So the Decidueye is going to have to be the play here. Don't think we have our Energy Search left in the deck. I need to pay attention to these things more, but if we do, we can actually Energy Search with the Skyla, manually retreat if we have to, but it looks like they won't be able to, which is insane for us, because we can actually go for the Skyla right now, grab the Air Balloon, retreat this, and knock out the opponent's Hisuian Samurott VSTAR with Piercing Claw for a crazy 390 damage for free, taking 2 prizes, putting us ahead in the prize trade. Now, unless my opponent is able to take a huge knockout in 2 turns, which, I mean, it's very possible, don't get me wrong, we essentially have secured the game here. We can retreat this Hisuian Decidueye into the Miltank just to stall a little bit longer. We are down both our Raihans, which does suck. We really do need an Energy Search here, because then we can direct arrow to a Pokemon if we so wish. But retreating is going to have to be the optimal play here, because then we're going to have to retreat again with the next Pokemon and then attack with our other Pokemon, basically. So doing 40 damage, doing 60 damage here is not good, because another 60 and our Decidueye is toast. Choice Belt here isn't super useful. We're going to use the Level Ball to take a peek in the deck, see what we have. We only have 5 cards, no Energy Search, which means that it should be prized. Now we're going to essentially need to draw into something that can draw for us next turn, or else this is going to be a very tough comeback. I think we can kind of thin it out a little bit more by getting rid of the Choice Belt and grabbing this Miltank. Meaning, as long as we don't draw into our rare candy, we should be a-okay next turn. Go ahead and retreat into the Miltank, buying us another turn of time. And if they can't get this Weezing out of the active, we essentially win, because we can use the Piercing Claw attack and take out their Galarian Weezing in 1 shot for free. Now, it's really up to my opponent here how they want to play this. Quick shooting the active isn't going to do too much for them unless they have a scoop up net option to switch. I mean, it could be very difficult. They have a boss's orders, which won't really do them much. They can take out this Decidueye, but they cannot get away from Miltank's route attack. Unless they have a Crobat here, which they can put down to try and draw a scoop up net, but it looks like there's not much going on. We have very little cards in deck. I have 5, my opponent has 3. And I think this actually might be the end of the game here because we're going to be doing 70 damage, taking a knockout on this Galarian Weezing. And that will close out the game. My opponent knows that that's it. Gonna go ahead and hit a Piercing Claw for a solid 420 damage on the weakness, drawing our Energy Surge off the prizes and taking a hard-fought victory against my opponent's Hisuian Samurott VSTAR Poison deck. So what do you think of my take on Miltank slash Decidueye slash Hisuian Decidueye? I think this deck is actually crazy strong, and when played in the right hands, it can basically destroy any deck that doesn't really see it coming. My only challenges, you could say, are the Ralladon VMAX, first of all. It's not a deck that's super played anymore, but because of the Skyscraper ability locking out our special energy usage, and its attack going through our ability, knocking out any of our Pokemon in one hit, it becomes really difficult to get A, damage on the Duraludon V-Star, B, enough damage on it to use Piercing Claw, and C, actually using Piercing Claw to knock it out. Usually you have to play an 8-prize game against Duraludon, which is very tough considering they don't really play bench Pokemon, which means Miltank isn't useful against it. However, that deck isn't super prevalent anymore, so I'm not very worried. A plus side is with Hisuian Decidueye, you actually hit weakness on Arceus, being able to very easily one-hit KO it. So that's a very good benefit of this deck. Same thing with Decidueye, as you saw in the Hisuian Samurott V-Star game. A lot of dark types are actually weak to grass now, which means you can do crazy damage to them for only 2 energy because of that weakness. Dark is getting very popular as well, so it's a very good asset to have the grass typing and the fighting typing in your deck, considering they both counter 2 super prevalent types of Pokemon in the meta right now. The other deck that this deck does struggle against, I will admit, is Mew, because it's Max Miracle, one-shots everything, no questions asked, basically. It can one-shot a Miltank, even with a cape, if they get 1 power tablet, so it could be very difficult. I mean, not impossible though, if you play around Boss and you play around Birdkeeper to switch Pokemon out and like maybe snipe some stuff on the bench, or set up your snipes, or set up your damage, I should say, like go for a Birdkeeper into Rowlet to KO with Hisuian Decidueye. Very possible outcome there. But the Mew matchup, very difficult, very difficult. I wouldn't tell you it's easy. I wouldn't lie to you. But Crushing Hammer could slow your opponent down. Other than that, what would I add to this deck? Another copy of Raihan could prove to be very beneficial, because getting a guaranteed return when you can get knocked out can help you out a lot, getting you exactly what you need whenever you need it. It's a good replacement for the Inteleon energy. Another card you could add in is Telescopic Sight, which allows you to do 30 more damage to bench Pokemon V, which does work with this Decidueye and this Decidueye's attacks, allowing you to essentially do 110 with Direct Arrow, or 50 to 2 Pokemon V with Splitting Arrow, and even 90 to a Pokemon V with Wind Shard. So a Telescopic Sight is not a bad addition in this deck at all. It can prove to be very powerful. I originally did have it in here, but I never ended up using it, so I just cut it. 2 more things I will say before we go. Another Twin Energy and another Fighting Energy could be, or would be, very powerful. Instead of maybe Capture Energies, I didn't find myself using Capture Energies too much in this deck, because we play 4 Level Ball and 4 Quick Ball. It's very easy to get down your Rowlets and even your Miltanks at this point. So cutting these 2 energy to make your energy a little bit more consistent will actually work, but it does depend on how you want to play the deck. If you want to lean into it more with the Hisuian Decidueye, absolutely put another Fighting Energy, or even 2 more Fighting Energy, if you can, into this deck, if you can find room. And then the last card is a Ordinary Rod. Being able to get back 2 energy and 2 Pokemon is very powerful. I'm thinking myself, I might add it into this deck and maybe cut a Birdkeeper, or maybe cut like a Level Ball or a Quick Ball or something like that. Just so I can have that option. Like if I discard 2 Decidueyes early on, it's kind of game over from there, right? So I think that's what I'll end up doing personally. I'll cut a Quick Ball for it, or even an Ultra Ball. Maybe because we have Evil Incense. But I think that about wraps it up. I really like how this deck plays. I think it is super powerful. And that concludes another Hitmonchanning deck tech. Anyways, thank you so much for watching the video. Like the video if you enjoyed it. Comment down below, how would you change this deck? What improvements do you have? I mean, like I said, I think it's very strong. It obviously has losing matchups, but most of its matchups are winning ones. So comment what you think would make this deck better. I'm always looking for feedback to improve my decks, and just comments to see. A lot of people have a lot of good ideas, so using some lesser known cards and having people give you feedback can produce some really cool deck ideas. I am planning to make deck techs around Hisuian Samurott and Hisuian Typhlosion, the little hollow ones that the single prize ones that came out in Astral Radiance. Hisuian Samurott, I have a really cool build for it. Hisuian Typhlosion I'm still working on, but I think those videos are going to be really cool. Anyways, like I said, thanks so much for watching. Like the video, comment on the video. Do not forget to subscribe. My goal is I want to get to 100 subscribers. I mean, in a month or so. I think it's pretty possible. We're already really close. We were at 74 at the time of this recording. So smash that subscribe button. I have new deck techs coming out weekly or earlier. Sometimes I will upload 2 videos in a week. Hint, hint, nudge, nudge. Maybe that might be coming soon. So after all that is said and done, thank you guys again so much for watching, and Hitmonchanning out.